Hello and welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. Today we are going to do just a little bit of harvesting and just a little bit of fertilizing in my indoor grow space. Hello, my name is Kim and you're at Kim's Cozy Corner. I have an outdoor garden as well as an indoor grow space during the winter months. And it's time for me to do just a little bit of harvesting and some fertilizing to the indoor grow space. When it comes to fertilizing the indoor grow space, I'm growing in so many different ways that each one takes a little different amount of fertilizer. So I have GreenStalks, I have pots, I have young seedlings growing behind me. I have, what else? Hydroponics. I have self-watering planters. And each of these need to be watered a little differently and fertilized a little differently. So let's start with the fertilizing of the hydroponic systems, which I will not be using this, but instead I will be using parts A and B that comes with the hydroponic system. So let's do that first. The next area that I'm going to water and add fertilizer to are my hydroponic systems. I have a lead pot hydroponic system, and for that system, I don't add liquid fertilizer outside of parts A and B. And for parts A and B, it has all the nutrition that it really needs. I have 2 units going in both of those units. They're about half full now. And so we are going to add parts A and B to those systems. And there are directions on here that tells you how much to add. So I have 8 liters of water, so I'm going to need 40 milliliters. At least, hopefully I'm not making too much. So there's part A and part B. And then the only thing I need to do is give it a little mixing, just so we can make sure it's mixed up really well, and we're going to add it to the units. So last year, I actually tried to use liquid fertilizer in place of parts A and B because I was out, and that didn't go over very well. My plants were very unhappy. When you use parts A and B, it really balances the water, the nutrition, everything that it needs to stay healthy. So I try to stick to parts A and B for my hydroponic systems. So both of these systems, there is a watering area on them. Both systems have one. It might be hard to see, but my goal is to water right in that little spout, and I may miss because I missed just a little bit, but not too bad. And there is a maximum fill line in here, and it's got a little stick here that's monitoring it whether it's full or not. I try not to fill above the max area. I did that one time and it was leaking out the back, and I did not know that it was leaking out the back. So following directions is important. The max holds about twice the amount of water as the original unit that I have here. But they are all set up ready to go. Let's get back downstairs. Now that we're done with the hydroponic system, we will move over to the process that I use to water everything in this indoor grow tent, from the pots and the seedlings and the GreenStalks and everything. And we are going to use Fox Farm Grow Big liquid fertilizer to water everything. I fertilize every 10 to 14 days or so, if I remember. And when I'm doing that fertilizing, it depends on what I'm fertilizing with how I mix up the liquid fertilizer. Here's the short clip on how I set up all of the containers for watering indoors. Now that we've finished talking about watering our hydroponic systems, let's talk about how we're going to water everything else in the garden. Now, I have GreenStalk planters, I have pots, I have self-watering systems, I have all kinds of pots and ways of growing in my indoor space. And each one of them might need a little something different from a fertilizing standpoint. Fox Farm is one of my preferred, Grow Big is what it's called, is one of my preferred liquid fertilizers. And we are going to use that today. And so let's first talk about seedlings. Seedlings are so young and they don't need a lot of fertilizer. So for the seedlings, one, follow the directions on your bottle. But for your seedlings, you need very little fertilizer, and you don't want to water your seedlings, in my mind, until after you get your first true leaves. That's typically what I like to do because they just don't need it. Everything is in that little seed itself to start that seed off. But according to this, if I am watering seedlings, I only need a half a teaspoon per gallon. This is a 1 gallon container here. Here's my little half teaspoon. And I don't need a gallon of water, so that's why we're going to start with the seedlings. I gave my bottle a little shake here just to make sure all the ingredients are nice and mixed up. Half teaspoon is all the seedling needs to a gallon of water. I can't even pour a half teaspoon, y'all. I spilled it. Anyway, after you put your half teaspoon in there, you want to mix it up really good, and then you're going to head over to the watering station. But before I do that with this water, we're going to talk about this other water that I got prepared. So these are also 1 gallon containers. And for watering my green stalks and my pots and self-watering planters that aren't in the seedling stage, okay, so all of my self-watering planters are in the seedling stage. So we will use the water that we've already prepared for seedlings. For the green stalks and the collard greens, we will use general feeding, which says 2 to 3 teaspoons per gallon of water. 2 to 3 teaspoons. Now, I am not going to put any fertilizer on my potato pots. I usually fertilize them one time and then I'm done. I don't normally do a lot of fertilizing for my potatoes. I just let them do their own thing. So this will only be for the 2 green stalks and the collard greens right now. So it says 2 to 3 teaspoons. I have my teaspoon. And I'm going to put 2 teaspoons. Now everything's all mixed together. Now we just need to water everything in. So let's start with the young seedlings. For the young seedlings, I always water from the bottom. Always. So here's, now I thought my camera failed. Here's my young seedlings. Let me find an open spot so I can water. And we're going to water from the bottom. So I'm going to find a little open hole there. We don't want to leave our seedlings sitting in water either. Now, some of my young seedlings, in my mind, are too small. They don't have true leaves. But then I have these other young seedlings back here, y'all. You see this? Those need fertilizer. So I'm about halfway in between. And so we're going to go ahead and water with just a teeny little bit of fertilizer. When you're watering your seedlings, it's low and slow. That's the best way to think about it. Low and slow. That's why you need very little fertilizer. And then for this pot here, these are my green beans. I have a couple that have already broken ground, but not all of them. So we're going to try to water this one from the bottom as well. And then we'll go over on the other side of the grow tent here and look at the self-watering containers. For the self-watering containers, there is a little hole that I can water these in back here. I just can't reach it, so we're going to have to water from the top. I'm sorry, just to get the water in there. And then this one, there's a little hole. We're going to try to water right into that little hole. And there's the little measuring thing going up. The one in the back has a measuring thing on it as well. I just can't get to it. So that's it for the young seedlings. Now we are going to water these green stalks. So let me get the other mix for the green stalks. Now for the green stalks, when you are indoors, you have to water much slower, much slower than you would if you were outdoors. And you got to have something underneath it to catch any water runoff. And so I have all of that set up. So we are going to water from the top. There we go. Now you can see what I'm doing. This is a gallon of water, and I am slowly, and I do mean very slowly, watering this in. And then I'm going to take my time. I'm going to walk away, and I'm going to make sure that that water is getting to each of the different levels. I don't want to go too fast. I don't want anything to run out. If it does, I'm going to use it though, but I don't want anything to run out. So I've poured about half of it in there, and now we're going to reach over and do it and take care of this other green stalk right beside it. So in this green stalk here, I only have 3 tiers, but we're going to do the exact same thing. Nice and slow from the top. Now I do find that my peppers take more water than my lettuce. And once these tomatoes start getting larger, I'm sure the tomatoes are going to take a lot more water. But right now, the green stalk with 4 tiers on it takes more water than this one with only 3. And we're going to wait a little bit, and we're going to come back and we're going to water some more. But that's the watering process. Now let's harvest some of them peppers off of that green stalk. Okay, y'all, we're done fertilizing. Now it is time to harvest. It is time to harvest what little bit I can harvest on my GreenStalk vertical planter. And y'all, I thought I did this video already. And I looked and I never turned the camera on. So I'm going to show you what I harvest from the GreenStalk. So this is my GreenStalk vertical planter full of all kinds of sweet peppers. And this was supposed to just be for overwintering. I did it last year and I was able to harvest a few peppers, and I'm doing it again this year. Now I already have frozen tons and tons of sweet peppers that I can use for cooking, to put in my different meals that I'm preparing. But y'all, it's the holidays. We're going to want a nice salad, something healthy to go with all the unhealthy food I plan to eat around this time of year. And so I picked a few peppers, not many, just a few peppers, so that I can add them to salads in this upcoming season. Let me try to get it where you can see it. Can you see that? It's just a few. So I harvest 1 Jimmy Nardello on a plant that's dying that I'm going to end up taking out and replacing it with something else until I can grow some more pepper plants to fill in those spaces. This is a giant Marconi, and it smells so sweet. Oh, I can't wait to bite into this one. And then I have a couple rough looking short red bells that we're going to cut and we're going to eat as well. These are my yummy snacking peppers. And outside they're small, but indoors they're even smaller. I mean, 1 bite and that's all you're going to get. But they are super ripe. They smell sweet, and that we won't even have to cut them up. We give them a good wash and throw them in a salad and they're ready to go. I also have some Zulu, which is a deep purple bell-shaped pepper. It's thin walled though, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I am not crazy about the Zulu pepper. I mean, it just tastes like a pepper, It's not super, super sweet. It's not hot either, but it's not super sweet. There's nothing to write home about with the Zulu pepper other than the fact that it is so prolific. This plant is massive. There are blooms everywhere, and I'm going to get a ton of these, even though I don't plan on planting any new plants next year. And then I picked one California Wonder a little early because if I had left it, it would have turned red. But with any of your sweet peppers, as well as your hot peppers, you can pick them truly at any stage. When you pick them, the longer you leave them on the vine, I should say, the longer you leave them on the plant, if it's a sweet pepper, typically the sweeter it will become. If it's a hot pepper, the hotter it will become. So it's just something to know. So I just wanted to pick a few more peppers so that I had a nice amount of peppers for us to chop up into our salad over this holiday season. Now that I've re-recorded all of the stuff about the peppers, I'm going to scoot over here and I'm going to harvest just a little bit of lettuce to go in those salads I keep talking about. All right. So for the lettuce over here, this whole tier right here, this tier, I've cut all of them at least once, and they've started coming back. So we are going to take these again. This might be the last time I can take this one, but this is Merlot. The reds are not really showing on the Merlot, but it still has an amazing taste. This one didn't come back, so we're going to replace that one. This is coming back. This is Cimarron, but it hasn't come back enough for me to do anything with it. This is Lantus Winter, and it is so beautiful. There are two plants in here with the Lantus Winter. I'm going to leave it one more week, and we are going to harvest this right here, and this is Slow Boat. And I have lettuce growing upstairs, downstairs. I have lettuce everywhere, y'all. Slow Boat is just a green leaf lettuce, and it's amazing tasting lettuce as well. Once the lettuce start coming in my hydroponic system, I'm going to be overrun with lettuce, but I'm not to that point yet. Now we're moving on up here. So this is some Merlot as well. I'm going to go ahead and harvest it. This is the first time I'm cutting off of this Merlot. And this Merlot is closer to the lights, and it has those deeper hues that we're used to. This is Butter Crunch, but I'm not harvesting that today. And this is Cimarron, y'all. Ooh, y'all, it's looking good. I'm going to hold off on that as well. Oh, I'm going to have to harvest the Lantus Winter then. Whew, smells so, so good. My harvest basket is way too big for this little bitty harvest. But that's a nice harvest. I mean, this is more than enough for a salad that we're going to have today. So we got what we needed for today. And just know that there's more and more vegetables coming in, y'all. We're just getting started in this winter garden. And it won't be long before we'll be starting seedlings and everything else, but we got to keep the harvest going. We need our fresh produce, our fresh vegetables all winter long, and that's what we're here for. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. There's something always going on at Kim's Cozy Corner. So until next time, and I hope there will be a next time that you join me, Kim, at Kim's Cozy Corner. Talk to you soon. Bye.